Alright, let's take a look at this picture. We've got our blobs here as before. They are in multiply mode, so they're making everything darker. Look, the black is completely black. Let's compare that with the screen mode where everything gets lighter, going up to white here, which is opaque. Let's come back to our contrasty modes, of which we tend to use overlay the most. Well, look at that. Things have got darker but not to black. Things have got lighter but not to light. Or what's happening there? It's got to do with what modes favour which layers. I'll explain what I mean. If you're in multiply mode, Photoshop favours this layer. It favours the blobs layer. So the blobs layer is telling the final image what's what, thank you very much. If you come to screen mode, Photoshop favours this particular layer when it's in screen mode. It's saying how light things are going to be in the image, thank you very much. But when you come down to overlay, Photoshop favours the underlying layer, in this case layer 0, or the layer with the boy on there. And it's that layer which is deciding how light it wants to be, thank you very much. So multiply and overlay, Photoshop favours the top layer. For overlay, Photoshop favours the underlying layer. Now that we've stated what the difference is with these comparative layers, I'm just going to make my blobs layer invisible. I want to call up another clouds layer, and I'm going to make that overlay mode. The effect tends to be softer than the darken or lighten modes. So as you can see, it can sometimes be more usable. I say sometimes. Okay, you're getting... Okay, vivid light we mentioned is kind of a mix between dodge and burn. Linear light is getting even more extreme. Now pin light, all that really is a mixture of darker colour and lighter colour. You can see the mid-greys are invisible. If it gets light beyond a certain point, this layer shows through clear. If it gets darker beyond a certain point, this layer shows through. So pin light, just a mixture of the two. Alright, let's move on. Let's come to... I've got a grey layer here. This is the colours 128, 128 and 128 for the red, green and blue values. It's completely neutral grey layer. If I come down to difference, this is part of the comparative group. What's going on there? With difference mode, the less saturated the colours are, the closer to black they go. The more saturated they are, the more you get these rather weird and wonderful effect. It can be useful for finding the neutral grey of an image. That can be useful when you're trying to colour correct a picture. Okay, remember this image? This is one we worked on before where we put layers on top, screen and multiply layers. Well now, I've come to a new layer. Let's call this colour because we're going to use colour mode for this. I use my brush and I just sprayed down a few colours and rub them out. Very quick, very crude. Now at the moment they're just sitting on top and not looking very pretty, but if I take this and come down to the last group and I come to colour, bang! The colour information is retained, but the values, the dark and light, stay the same. This is very useful. You've seen those old photographs where they retouch them up in a certain way? This is how you do it. This is why this mode is extremely useful. Okay, let's do one last thing. Take a look at this image. It could do with being a little bit darker and lighter, so I'm going to come to my curves and I'm going to make it more contrasty. But you can see what's happening here. We're getting the thing that happens when you make things darker and lighter. The colours get more intense. Now I've made that really quite exaggerated, the colour values, but I just want to make a point here. The colours have got more intense. I don't necessarily want that, so I'm going to change my mode from normal, come right down to the bottom to where it says luminosity. See what happened there? Let's make this layer invisible. Original. Okay, take a look at the saturation of the colours and the overall brightness. My new layer, I've changed the dark and light values, but the colours haven't got any more intense. That's a very good way of making sure that the colour values are right without necessarily blowing up all the intensity values. Okay, final words because I want to go out for a run and it looks like it might start raining soon. So, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you take a look at all these special effect photographs or fancy photographs in glossy magazines or in photographic studios, most of them are done using layer modes. The things we've discussed today. And if you've never used them before, your digital photography is about to become a whole lot better. Thanks for listening. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, maybe you consider clicking on one of the links below and check out my game called Disco Baby, which is on the iTunes Store or Android stores like Google Play. It has 3 different games in it, a memory game, a maths game for children, and a dance along with me game for toddlers to join in with. Thanks for your time.